On a whim, Jasmine Murray decided to try out for Season 8 of American Idol. Before long, she became the first finalist from the state of Mississippi. And then a few years later, she was representing her state in the annual Miss America pageant. But during her multiple visits to the spotlight, Jasmine was carrying a secret. She was living life terrified.
Jasmine Murray performed in front of millions on the American Idol stage, sang for the President of the United States, and finished top 10 in the Miss America pageant, all while suffering with fear and anxiety.
I think that fear is something that everyone has felt at one time or another in their life. And just to understand, though, within that you don't have to struggle with it for the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be what defines you.
In her latest CD, Fearless, Jasmine shares how God helped her overcome her personal struggle with doubt and worry, and how He can do the same for you.
Well, Jasmine Murray is here right now, and we welcome you to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Talk a little bit before we get into your story about a scare that your mom actually had before you were ever born.
Yes, so my mom actually had severe toxemia while she was carrying me, and so she was rushed to the hospital and had to have an emergency C-section. And so, you know, the doctors did not expect her to live, and they didn't expect me to live.
Wow.
And so it was a very traumatic experience for both of us. But, you know, she just always tells me that the Lord saved us because the enemy was trying to wipe us out. And the Lord had a purpose for both of our lives and for all of my siblings and everyone. So it's so good to be here and to know that God's grace and mercy has covered us through that experience.
So your mom was a woman of faith. What was growing up like for you?
Yes, my mom is definitely a woman of faith. I grew up in a single-parent home, so my mom raised me and all of my siblings by herself. And I have 3 older sisters and 1 brother, so that's 5 kids, and I cannot imagine
Me neither.
what that must have been like for her. But she always says, you know, it was the grace of God that carried her through, that was her strength, and that helped her to be able to go on. Her first husband passed away, and then she married my dad, and they're no longer married. So she had a lot of responsibility on herself.
Boy,
but
I guess so.
yeah, she taught us so much, though, about just understanding what it meant to have a relationship with God. And she always had us in church. She actually became an ordained minister later on in life.
Good for her.
So she is a phenomenal woman, and she's so excited that I'm here today.
Well, Mom, so are we. Well, you say that for most of your life you dealt with fear and anxiety. When do you think that actually began for you?
So I can remember growing up and always having a tendency to worry a lot about things, but I guess it really started to heighten for me a few years ago after, or a little bit before I moved to Nashville. And I can just remember starting to experience panic attacks and starting to really feel like I wanted to kind of shut myself out from other people and just, you know, be by myself. I'm an introvert and just always have been, but I just started to realize I was changing a little bit. It wasn't my normal behavior, and it was really scary for me. And so, you know, that's why this song Fearless has been such just a song that I connect with and resonate with so much, because it's a declaration for me. And I think so many other people out there, because, you know, I realize that fear is not from God.
Yes.
And that He does not want us to live our lives afraid
Yes.
of anything, of the unknown, afraid of what's going to happen next, afraid of, you know, what the enemy's going to try to bring against us. He wants us to live on purpose for Him, and to just have full faith in Him and trust Him.
Why do you think that started for you? Do you have any memory of anything that was a catalyst in your life that maybe caught you off guard or made you feel like circumstances were out of control?
You know, I don't think there was anything in particular for me that I can remember that caused it or that started it. I honestly think, though, that sometimes in life you just go through things and the enemy throws things in your path to try to distract you or to try to get you to not see your purpose clearly. And I think that was something for me that the enemy was putting in my view do to deter me from where the Lord wanted me to go, to take me away from God's purpose.
You know, it's so interesting because I know so many people who only recently in their lives have begun to struggle with anxiety or fear, something they didn't have early on. And for you, one of the things that was so interesting to me is you mentioned that you were an introvert, but all of the things that God has led you to and called you to do are very, very visible, very performance-oriented, which would, to me, only drive that anxiety level right through the ceiling.
God has a sense of humor, doesn't he?
Does. How do you do that, though, when you have, I know that God has set you free from the fear and the anxiety, but you were doing those other things before you were set free.
Right.
Yeah. How did you deal with that?
You know, honestly, over the course of my life, it's something I've had to work on, coming out of my shell a little bit, because when I was a little girl, I was so shy. I was super shy. I loved to sing, but I did not want to speak in front of people. And I would not be the first person to start a conversation with someone, just out of fear, just out of being super reserved and just introverted. So that was something I had to work on in life. And honestly, being in show choir, being in different things, being involved in Miss America, and starting that journey helped me so much.
Helped you move through the process. Yeah.
Yes.
At one point, you were in a recording studio ready to record when all of this kind of came to a head. And that does happen with fear and anxiety, where you were almost paralyzed or immobilized by an anxiety attack. Tell us about that. And
yes.
What you did.
So this particular day, I was on my way to a writing session in Nashville, and I had a panic attack in my car on the way there. And I just remember not feeling like I couldn't breathe, and just like I was sort of out of control in my own body.
What did you do?
I kind of rushed to get there, and I parked my car, and I just took a second before I walked in, and I just prayed and I meditated, and I was just trying to calm myself down, just breathing. And you know, honestly, it was something I'd gone through before, but it was still very new to me, so I was still kind of getting the hang of it and understanding, you know, that one of my triggers was rushing. So when I started to get in a rush, those panic attacks would sometimes come. And so I, now looking back on it, know that that was probably one of the triggers for me that day. But I walked into the session after that, got myself together, and walked into the room. And one of the producers already had a track together, and he's like, well, what do you want to write about today? And I was like, well, I kind of want to write about fear, but I didn't want to go all the way into it because it was just something I hadn't shared with a lot of people yet. And I just wasn't really ready to go there. But it was so crazy because before I knew it, I just burst into tears, and it was like I could not hold it back any longer. And I just said, this is what I'm going through. I am struggling so much with this. I just had a panic attack, and they just immediately started praying for me and encouraging me and lifting me up, and just helping me to realize, you know, that it's okay and that we want you to be okay. You know, this isn't about writing a hit song. This is about making sure that you understand where your healing comes from. And so we wrote Fearless that day, and I had no idea that was a song that we were going to write, but it's just so incredible to see how, you know, the things that the enemy tries to put in your path to use against you, the Lord uses it for you and works it all out for your good.
And not only does he give you a song that gives you some freedom in the writing of it, but sets others free in the singing of it. And so I'm going to let you go over and get ready to sing it.
Okay.
You will, Jasmine.
Awesome.
And I want to tell people about your release, because the song in the album and attitude is called Fearless, and you can find it wherever music is sold. And then don't forget, we have more with Jasmine Murray in a behind-the-scenes interview for Facebook Live. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/700club. But now, here's Jasmine Murray with Fearless.
I wake up, I feel it, those fears are back again. Can't shake them, can't make them ever fade, ever end. Am I good enough? Do I measure up? Feels like a war I can't win. But I wasn't given the spirit of fear, I was given the power of love. Well, everything I've been fighting against, I'm gonna lift it up. I wanna be fearless, no holding back, no backing down. Fearless. mountains, these giants will fall at a single word. In your name, in your strength, I'm more than a conqueror. I wasn't given the spirit of fear, I was given the power of love. Well, everything I've been